Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Entrepreneurship Lab. This is your host, Nevin Bajalat, welcoming you once again to the podcast where we help you grow and scale your business. And as always, we are bringing you amazing guests, entrepreneurs, people with different experiences, and building businesses in different industries. So today with us, we have a very special guest. He's coming all the way from United States. His name is Nicholas Breedlove. And Nicholas is a visionary entrepreneur. He's CEO of NVB Playgrounds, a company that is dedicated to creating safe, engaging, and inclusive play spaces for communities, children, families. And Nicholas will share with us how he built this business, challenges he had, and for sure you're going to get a lot of value. So, Nicholas, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. This is I love podcasts and I love your voice. It's very intriguing.
Thank you. I guess that's a compliment. You having a
Absolutely. I
podcast.
love to travel, so it's one of the great things that I've been able to do over the last probably I'd say closer to in a closer time span. Over the last probably 4 years, I've been traveling a lot more, and I travel with a lot of CEOs and just experiencing different cultures. It's just been very nice to me. So
Yeah, I think it
love it.
opens our mind and we learn
Yes.
so much. And traveling also help us understand business as well in a different way and business opportunities. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. But tell us, Nick, why playgrounds? Where did this idea came from? I believe this is not your background. So I'm very intrigued to see, was it like a passion? There was something personal about it, or it was just a pure business opportunity that you saw?
Yeah, it was probably a mom's bedroom idea. I started going to college before I dropped out. I was going for horticulture, business management. So I was going to learn how to grow things. Uh, didn't love that. One of the family businesses was nurseries and taking care of plants, and I thought maybe I could get into that. I ended up graduating eventually after I dropped out, and I thought, well, now what the heck do I want to do? Because that's pretty much what every college kid says. And my dad had an opportunity at the time to get into playground equipment. It was from one of his friends was selling playgrounds. Just a really random thing. A lot of these guys used to sell clothing. So during the probably the 80s and the 90s, there was a lot of salespeople that were selling, the clothing brands you recognize, Nike, the Izod's, the Van Heusen's, the men's stores, and eventually all those box stores just started dealing with those companies direct. They didn't need those salespeople, and a large group of them started selling playground equipment. It's a strange industry to go in, but one guy kind of set it all in motion, and I have him to thank for a lot of it. Uh, I followed a little bit in my dad's footsteps in regards to just the initial idea of selling playground equipment. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't at times. People ask me, "What do you do? Why you sell playgrounds?" And I love it now. I absolutely love it. But it's not like I had a super passion towards playground equipment. I
Yeah.
thought, hey, this is my job. I can do something, and how can I make money and sit in a basement and sit in my pajamas all day and not go to work? Uh, nowadays, that's not the case, right? Like I've grown out of that phase of my life. But in the beginning, that's where what the mindset was. And I picked a little bit of a niche industry, which is commercial playgrounds. We don't really sell residential. So we sell the big metal and plastic play centers, and we manufacture worldwide. We bring it in through to the United States to our warehouses. We have operations in Savannah, Georgia. We have it in Houston, Texas, and Indianapolis, Indiana, and opening up a West Coast operation beginning of next year. And we started in my bedroom, and one of my uncles would wake me up every morning and tell me about the orders every day. And before long, we had a house full of people. It's been 18 years since we've been in that house, and we still have three people that work for us all that time. And that's a lot of change to go through for somebody. But, I remember some of their stories. They came to their first day of, their interview, they came to somebody's house and they were going into a basement for an interview. It sounds like a scene out of a Netflix horror movie. So, we've grown a lot, like made a lot of mistakes in the process, and I've got my battle wounds to show it at times.
Yeah, it's so interesting for me because when I was in Dubai, my background is psychology education, and I had a chance to. I did a lot of things, but I had a chance to work with some companies that actually manufacture and produce furnitures for schools, like tailored. And also, one of my really top clients I consulted was an interior design firm, and I know a lot of residential buildings and commercial spaces they include playgrounds. So for me, it's very interesting because I have some idea. I know how much work is it, and it's interesting for me to interview you. But I love honesty. I love that. So many entrepreneurs think, oh, I should be in love, like there should be this huge passion. Not always. It's not always like that. And sometimes the life just take you in one direction and you go through. But I want to know how your mindset changed. It seems like you were young. You were just like, of course, with like you said, mindset. I don't want to work for anybody else. I want to sleep in pajama, which is not the reality. I'm sure there's 20 years of building the business. But how did your mindset changed? Did you are you like a go-getter or you had someone push you? Like, what was the moment when you guys experienced big growth? So how did your mindset change as well?
Absolutely. I'd say year one or so was the U.S. Had a recession that hit, and one of our competitors, we only had one other competitor selling in the space online at the time. So it was fortunate. They bought a lot of houses, they had too many boats, and they went out of business. So overnight, one day, our phones just blew up, and did a little research. Well, they're out of business. The whole industry was way behind. And so it led this huge opportunity for me to take lead. And we just did with that, we took as much of it as we could, and we would double or triple business every year for many years. Um, I'd say that was one of the points of us getting there. We would have been fine either way, but it definitely helped propel us. Because it was many years later before anybody else was really competing online for that. A lot of them didn't think you'd ever sell a 50 or 100, or we've sold $500,000 playgrounds online. They never thought you'd be able to do that. Um, I'd say over the next few years of that kind of growth, you're just trying to deal with people issues and position issues. You're scaling up, but you're scaling your revenue, but you're not always scaling your team.
Yeah,
And so that's always, it's every entrepreneur's worst nightmare, or its best nightmare, actually. Revenue, but you don't know what to do. And that's okay, right? So you can always deal with that. You can't deal with the other, where you have nothing to do and no revenue. That is the epitome of not being in business. So, we kept scaling and growing. We bought a warehouse, or bought some land, built a warehouse. I knew that I knew that I wanted my own private label, because I knew that all the manufacturers that I was dealing with in the States, they just didn't quite do a great job, which means that I only had to do a little bit better of a job, and I would be 1,000% better than all of them. And that's what we did. So we started a private label, and that was playgroundequipment.com. And since then, we've bought hundreds of domains, playgrounds.com, play equipment, laundry list of domains. But one of our bigger brands for equipment became playgroundequipment.com. Um, and so we started importing from all over the world, and then that's like telling a kid in a basement again, hey, now you got to be in charge of warehouses. You got to run operations. You need to know inventory. You need to know strategy. You need to know tariffs. You need to know all these things, right? So
yeah,
there's always a chaotic moment every year to break me. And I think that there's that way for a lot of businesses. It just depends on like what are you going for? For me, we were always after revenue. Like I know that all of my competitors are billion-dollar brands. So it's easy for me to just to chip away at their business over time. And that's what we've been really good at, and we've done a good job of that. And we have hundreds of employees, and that's one of my biggest things is I love to be able to be a part of their life. I love what we're able to do for them, and I love seeing them grow because I don't get to see all of them anymore. I wish I did, but I don't. And it's one of my greatest achievements is that just
Yeah.
being able to see people grow and being a part of their growth.
Yeah, I always, and I speak with so many entrepreneurs, and we always discuss this, how, first we think, oh, let's get some revenue, let's get clients, but then when you're scaling, that's where real challenges and real growth is. So how was it for you? How did you deal with those moments? A lot of entrepreneurs, in entrepreneurship, you're always jumping into something that you don't know. And I think you have to like know you don't know, but have the confidence that you're going to figure it out and be like, hey, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to learn. So, how was it for you? What kind of mindset you have, you harvest, and you have in this every year bringing new challenges and growing your business?
Absolutely. I'd say one of the biggest things over the last 5 years that I've changed is we implemented a lot of personality profiles within the company. We use something called Culture Index. It helps us really understand how that person operates, what drives them, and with that, we're able to really make sure that we're hiring right. It's back in the early days of our scaling when we started, scaling out of the home and into the business, our motto is one of those bad mottos in business: hire fast and fire faster. And you don't want that actually. You really want a great HR team that places people perfectly. Uh, I didn't get there until a little later, but we've got a great HR team and they place people perfectly. So I think one of the best ways that I get through all of the things I don't know now is that I'm able to have the right people around me. I'm direct vice president of sales is Jared, for example. He's amazing. He's just like 10 times better than I ever could imagine me doing anything in his position. And that's the big thing is surrounding myself with people that I know are 100% certain that they're better at what they're doing than I could possibly even think of. Now, I'm going to always tinker. That's what I do. I tinker, but they do a great job. And I
Yeah.
think that was one of my biggest faults in scaling was, I do believe in growth, but there is a certain point where, uh, for me and for the person, ego can get in the way of uh, are you really the best for this job, or is it just because you want it? So, and those are two different things. It's like if you've capped out, I'm sorry, I wish I could have shown you more growth, or I can show you growth. It just needs to be over here. And we really need a different type of a manager here. A lot of people's perspectives is growth is straight up. And that is not really the case. And trying to make sure that people, especially people who've been with me for a long time, helping them understand that helps us grow further.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I love that. And I think yes, definitely ego is, and as so many entrepreneurs, we believe we can do, the best, and we sometimes are like so bad at delegating, and then you have to learn like, hey, I have to really let people do other things, and when you let the ego go and be like, hey, I'm just gonna hire better people than me in everything, this is, I think, where people build good companies when they just realize, hey, there are many smarter people than me. I should just hire them on my side and my team. So ask you what are some challenges you guys had in building a business? What is something that was, I don't know, funny or really difficult that you can share with listeners? Because we talked about success and we look up to successful entrepreneurs, but I'm sure there was like every some kind of challenge. But what was something really, really big for you that you guys overcame?
every year there's something terrible that I have to get over. And I say terrible just because if you look at it from just a bird eye view, it just seems impossible to get past it. I'd say one of my first things was we sold a Air Force base in Alaska. We sold them 14 trucks of equipment. We had no idea what ice road trucking was. We screwed that up. Didn't realize that they needed to dig a 6 foot deep hole to get past the frost line. Didn't know that. There's lots of little things like that. We've had dealing with overseas, there's always something. This year was tariffs, but before that, we've had shipping companies go out of business, leave their, abandon the ship in the middle of the ocean, and we're stuck with our goods sitting on the water for 6 months. You can lose this container at sea. You can it's endless stuff. This year was tariffs. This year tariffs was, I think that went up to 158% was our current tariff at one point, which means for every dollar we spent, we paid $1.58. We got past it really quick because we were very aggressive with a different strategy. But there's anything more specific than that.
Yeah.
There's one chapter in my book I'm not going to talk too much about, but I've also dealt with, internal betrayal. I had somebody that was, untrustworthy working for me for a long time. And those are the types of things that make entrepreneurs, sometimes it makes us not trust. And it took me a while to get past that, for example. And it took me a long time. Like people, would put their cell phones out and you think, why would that be a big deal if you laid your phone on a table? Well, I'm assuming it's recording the room. Why? We're cell playgrounds. We don't do anything, right? But this guy was so paranoid, he recorded everything that he was in, every meeting he was in, every place he went, and he had a lot of things that he did at the company that you'd say, wow, why? Well, how did he think he was not going to get caught doing that? Right. And those are the moments where being an entrepreneur is not quite that fun, when you're dealing with that kind of stuff. But fortunately, that's only happened once. But other than that, I'm pretty sure that I fired almost every family member that I know. I've probably fired at least 10 of my cousins, three of my uncles, none of my aunts, so that's good. Um,
Okay, so women are kind of better reputation for now.
so working with family has always given me lots of fun and headaches.
Yeah.
So that's I feel like that's everybody's story though, especially as you grow. I think there's a lot of people just have they just think that they're due a certain thing and they're not. It doesn't matter what your name is.
Nick, I always like to ask this question. If there is one thing you wish somebody told you earlier that you maybe will save you stress or save you money or make you earn more, what is something you wish you knew? Maybe back then when you were starting, what is something that you think it was a aha moment and make like a really big impact for you in building a business?
I was really stubborn when I first started, and I just was stubborn to listening and stubborn to the idea that anybody knew what they were talking about. So, maybe just dialing it back just a little bit and saying, relax, bro.
You don't seem like that at all. So if I had to take my guess, I would never say you're a guy who's not listening, but obviously that's like a years of experience. And I think youth, when we're young, we think we know everything, we know the world, and then you look back, you're like, oh my God, I was such a baby, like so
I,
immature, emotional intelligence, but that's part of life. And it makes us passionate sometimes when we're working, when we are young, all those emotions and things you're experiencing first with your boss or starting a business with your clients. And then you just, yeah, I think you relax over a period of time when you have the experience.
I think that's what did it for me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, Nick. So, I want to ask you, um, uh, was there any time like that you mentioned many things that went wrong, but was there a moment that you think, oh, something went wrong and it was end of the world and actually make like a breakthrough in your business?
I think that, we've we've uh we've had a lot of I think probably before we started our distributor program. So we sell to distributors all over the United States. So we have entrepreneurs that we deal with all over the US that sell our brands. And I think before that, I thought I could do a lot of it myself, and I can't sell it all myself. I can't be the sole source that everybody goes to. Just it's impossible. So I think getting to that point was probably my breakthrough, realizing that like I needed another medium to be able to sell and to be able to reach the people. And I constantly remember that through everything I do, whatever I'm building. Nowadays, I always think, how else, what can I do where I can utilize everyone else that's already doing this? I can't, it can't all come from us. We've got to be able to utilize something else, whatever it might be. Maybe it's a referral program, maybe it's or something else, building out everything so it can't all be reliant on our company to execute.
Mm, interesting. Yeah, very interesting. And it's, yeah, I think sometimes we are not, it's in a way like thinking outside the box. I think sometimes we just feel stuck in our own ways. And did you in your journey had like mentors, had people help you? Who was someone guiding you in, like in these aha moments, or, did you look into other businesses? What was it for you in all of these years of building a business that helped you?
When I grew up, I grew up around one of my aunt and uncles. They had that nursery, and I thought, this is awesome. They get to wake up every day. They get to be around each other. They get to spend all this time. They hated each other at times. They love each other, but it's a mess. It's messy when you're with family. But I thought, man, this is awesome. I love this. I want to be a part of this. This is what I want. And I love some of my family that works for me. I still have some family, even that once we breached 200 people, I still have some family. Um, but I don't know. I think that I'm I'm struggling on that one a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I was just wondering, did you ever like paid for mentors or had someone to like learn business from or like look
I
into
see.
companies or entrepreneurs?
I get a lot of my stuff that I lean on from back in those days, but I do mentor a little bit with someone named Cameron Harold and being in groups. So I'm in an MMT, which is Mastermind Talks. I'm
Mm,
in something called Baby Bathwater, which is for it sounds weird, but it's CEOs that go out and they meet at a exotic location. Maybe it's Cabo, maybe it's somewhere in New York, whatever. And they just talk about what they're struggling with and how they're living
yeah,
life. And like I told you in the beginning, traveling a lot. So I travel in that group and I travel with other CEOs. And I think that even being around CEOs or people that are business leaders, I think that just me being around in the same room as people that I admire to a
mm,
point, I admire all of them. I think it does a lot to grow me and to grow my skills.
yeah,
Even a week with them, which is what it is. And we spend
yeah.
a week every year. This year we're going to Patagonia.
Mm,
Um,
nice.
but those types of groups, they definitely help level me up in my skill set. And really, I usually leave there feeling really energized about what I'm doing and some sort of a path ahead where I'm not completely lost.
You're definitely not lost for sure. I mean, you guys achieved so much, but I love this. I'm just asking just to see what worked for you. And yes, masterminds and having people like your environment chatting, like something that's problem for you, maybe another CEO resolved it. So you can get an insight, get an advice. Or I feel when we are around other people that build businesses, for me, it's always empowering and people lifting each other up and, like, hey, you're doing good. Sometimes you just needed feeling, hey, everybody are going to struggles, it's not just me. So that's really helpful as well to know, Nick. So I want to close with asking you one last question. Is there any advice that's something important about building a business that we didn't mention and you think it would help the listeners?
I think that there's always success in those moments of chaos where you think that everything's out of control and just trying to ground yourself to be aware of opportunities when that happens, because there's always an opportunity, even when it looks like it's dire, there's still an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Nick. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me so much.
Everyone, I am sure you get so much value from Nick. Make sure to connect with him on social media, get his book, find out more about what he's doing. It's always so helpful to listen to other entrepreneurs, people building businesses. You're going to learn so much from his journey. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Give us some likes, hearts, leave your comments, and share this with at least one more entrepreneur that's going to benefit from it. Thank you so much for listening. I see you in the next episode.